everybody. Appreciate everybody taking some time to, and we welcome you to our weekly press conference with head coach Kenni Burns. And coach, just start things off with an opening statement, putting Ohio to bed, and looking forward to the trip to Ypsilanti.
Yeah, another good learning opportunity for us with Ohio. A really good football team, a team that will compete for the MAC East championship for sure. You can see why they've had the success they've had. They play good complementary football for each other, and something that again we're attempting to do ourselves. But when you look at the game, it really came down to a couple of possessions. Honestly, you as a coaching staff, you look at it with about 4 minutes left to go in the second quarter of the game, 7-7. Then by halftime, it's 21-7. So we got to figure out exactly what happened there. And you look at it, a couple special teams things with the punt that was kind of giving them the short field, and we knew that if he gave them a short field, there was like over an 80% chance they were coming out of it with points, and like over 70 that was going to be touchdowns. So we can't put our defense in that situation. But there's a lot of stuff again to grow and learn from. And our guys last night, where they were engaged and they came out and gave us a great effort, and looking to move on and put a great game plan together to beat EMU. So that's that.
Coach, before we open up to questions, just early 20,000-foot scouting report on the Eagles.
Yeah, really good team. But Chris does a great job. He's been there for a while. They're the kind of the definition of consistency. They're always playing sound and consistent football, competitive football, and a team that I think is really moving on the upswing. They're 3-3 so far this year, but they've been in every single game they've played. They've been competitive and just a really good football team. And it's really led to me by their running backs. They got two, the Jalen Jackson kid and then Simpson Evans, two players that are known for what they do. Jalen's also a good return man as well and does a good job with the ball in his hands. So we got to do a good job of swarming them. And then on defense, they just play sound defense. They've got some seniors in the middle. Their linebacker, Chase Klein, is a good player. And then they got a couple corners that are really good players too. But, again, they just play sound football. They don't beat themselves, just like the two teams we just played. And we're going to have to play a great game in order to beat them and go down there and put on a good performance. So we got a great opportunity for us to get better, and we're looking forward to it.
Well, let's open it up to our virtual room and bring in Derek DeMitt from Believe Land Media. Derek, if you'd unmute and ask your questions for Coach.
Good morning, Coach. Are you a psychic? Because your introductory message kind of took my question. But looking at Eastern Michigan's schedule, they have played Minnesota. So have you reached out to Coach Fleck, kind of just, for some maybe tips or secrets that he had that you can kind of implement into your guys' game plan?
Yeah, I've not reached out to Coach Fleck yet, but there are some guys on staff that I know well, obviously, that I will rely on a little bit to get some insight on what they did that worked and things that gave them problems, because there are some systematic things that are very similar to what we do here and what they do at Minnesota. So definitely rely on that. I'm sure at some point I'll talk to Coach Fleck about overall game plan, what he did that he thought worked and what things that he would change.
And I know on Saturday you mentioned after the game that going with Tommy was kind of a predetermined thing that you and the staff kind of had in mind. Is that something we can look for moving forward, or was that kind of a one-off?
No, that's something that potentially you can see again. I think Tommy did a good job when he was in there. You look at his completion percentage, though, wasn't that great, but he does give you a different kind of element that he can tuck the ball and run and get you out of some situations when it's not perfectly protected that we could maybe utilize. But I think you'll see both of them moving forward in different roles. But I think they've got a good relationship, and I think they're competing with each other, not against, which is always good. And I think Tommy did a good job when he went in there. But Mike, Mike wasn't playing bad. It was just kind of the timing set up for itself. It was nothing that Mike did that made us pull him, but we went in there before thinking, if the opportunity presented itself, we'd put Tommy in there for a series and see what he can do. And, he did well, so we kept him in there for a little bit longer.
All right, thanks, Coach. Have a great week.
Yep, thank you.
Let's bring in the voice of the Golden Flashes and Rob Polinsky. Rob, any questions for Coach?
Thanks, Dan. Coach, Jalen Thomas, we got to see him more on Saturday than we have all year. Did his performance, do you expect him, maybe we'll see more of Jalen moving forward? And is that going to be a week-by-week thing to kind of decide who maybe has the hot hand at running back and how you decide to use that group moving forward?
Yeah, it kind of happened because we got a little dinged up at running back, and he had been doing a good job progressing week in and week out, and it kind of presented itself, and I thought he took advantage of his opportunity. He ran behind his pads, he ran downhill, His yards after contact was really solid as well. He's always falling forward, things you're looking for as a running back coach. So I think he's warranted the opportunity to come in the next game and start, and be the starter. But Gavin Garcia, you know how I feel about him. I've talked about him extensively. He's getting healthy, and he'll be back, and hopefully we'll get him to full capacity, and he'll go out there and help, and he'll be a really good 1-2, and then X is kind of a change of pace guy, and we found some other ways to get X the ball with the return game and stuff like that, which he did a good job with as well. So we can get those three guys healthy. They're three really good backs, in my opinion, and our O-line's coming together. I think we finally found 5 guys that we really like, that we're going to invest in for the rest of the season. So I think we're progressing on offense in the right direction, and getting some guys back healthy should make things really work out in our favor.
You've mentioned the special teams a couple of times, and obviously the punting overall is not where you want it to be. Do you expect, both guys moving forward? You're going to be using both of them. Are you going to have something in practice where maybe week by week, whoever has the best week is going to punt? How do you kind of work on that going forward?
You just said it right there. We're going to go in practice and kind of give guys opportunities and see who moves forward. And it can punt the best and be the most consistent. But it's definitely something that's hurting our football team right now, and I can't hide that. You guys watch the games. We got to be better at that unit of getting the snap there, getting the punt off. We've had one blocked. There's been a lot of things there that we've got to look at and do a deep dive, and we kind of did that last night. Just kind of dived into our special teams even more. But then there's a lot of bright spots too. Our KOR unit's doing, I think, really well. Our kickoff unit's doing well. We've kind of fixed the kinks there. Our field goal unit's doing well. So there's some bright spots in our special teams as well. But the punting unit is definitely one we've got to address, and we've got to find a guy that can be consistent, kicking the ball and putting us in good situations. Because you look at that game, that was a massive miscue on the punting unit. When you look at it, no play, I think no play ever loses you a game. But a play can win you a game, and that play just put our defense in a really bad situation, and we've got to make sure we don't do that moving forward, and we put ourselves in good situations.
Coach, last thing for me, with the Ohio game, there were several times you had some 3rd and longs and in situations where, might usually be a passing situation, but you were running the ball. Was that because they were putting so much pressure, on Mike, on your quarterback, that maybe it was a little more conservative on Saturday?
Yeah, there definitely was. There was a conscious effort of being able to run the ball on 3rd down. I think we had one that popped out and got us a first down on the first or second one where JT made a good run and got us a first down. And what they did, they were getting pressured with their front 4. They weren't pressuring with anybody else. So they were dropping into coverage. So we had some number issues there that opened up the run game a little bit, also. So there was some schematical advantages too in running the ball. And then you put that on with our offensive line not being built for really drop back passing situations. I think it all married up together well. So we've got to do a better job of staying out of that situations. And if you saw, we're trying to make a conscious effort of throwing more high percentage passes on 1st and 2nd down. Things that can get out of Mike's hand quickly, so we can move the chains. So we got to just keep doing that and being efficient on 1st and 2nd down. I always said the best 3rd down is an efficient 1st and 2nd down, getting 4 yards a pop. Now you find yourself in 3rd and short, and we've got to do a better job of doing that as well.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep, thank you.
Let's go to Rob's partner in the booth, and Tom Evans. Tom, any questions for Coach?
Yeah, Coach. For first 25 minutes of the game, you go toe to toe with one of the big boys predicted in the conference. Do you take some extra time to tell your team that this is who we need to be? That those first 25 minutes, that this is where we need to be. Do you do a little bit more focus on some of that stuff?
Yeah, I think you look at the last 2 games, and I think both of those teams are probably, 1, 2, and 3. Between those 2 and Toledo, they're probably the best teams in the league right now. And the first half, we pretty much hung in with both of them, and we played a pretty good game, for a quarter and a half of both games. And we've got to find a way to accelerate in the middle. I call it when things kind of happen and kind of people settle in, they start to get in a rhythm. How do you stop them from keep that momentum going? And we haven't done that yet the past 2 weeks, but I think there is a lot to build off of. I think we're starting fast, and I think we're keeping ourselves in game, especially defensively. But then when adversity hits, that's when we kind of get in trouble. You look at that game, I think the first 16 plays, I thought it was a complete domination on defense, to be quite honest with you. And then we have a missed tackle that Capone Blue had right before the end of the first quarter. And then the next 3 plays are all bang, 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 where we've had some kind of coverage bust or something happen. And 3 plays later they score a touchdown. And we've got to be able to move on and play the next play, because a lot of times the guys that give up that play are typically the same guys who are eventually 2 plays later get beat again. So we can't let that play beat us twice, and I think that's happening too much for us in those situations. Like, adversity's going to hit. How do you handle adversity? Well, we talk about response and grit, right? They've got to be able to respond in the proper way, because they're still a really good defense, and they got to trust themselves in those situations. But that's a trend on our defense right now. One bad thing happens, it leads to 3 or 4 plays before we figure it out and kind of calm down and play and settle back down and play within our system. So something we're addressing for sure, but definitely pleased with the starts that we're having. I think we're starting to understand like how we start fast, and I think if you look at us coming out the locker room too, last week against Miami, we come out the locker room, we score, it gets called back, but guys are coming out with an aggressive mindset. This week we go down the field, we get a field goal. We probably wish we had that second down play, that last four downs back, because we called something that we didn't really like to look for, and we should have just checked the play. But we're moving the ball. So again, it's kind of that late second quarter chunk that we've got to figure out, because again, 4 minutes left to go in the second quarter. It's 7-7, and we have the ball. So we got to do a better job of just closing out the half and then coming out and accelerating like we did in the second half and letting that build until how we finish strong.
Coach, you also alluded to this in your post-game press conference. Krishan, certainly the chemistry between him and Mike is evident, but you need to start to develop some secondary receivers on that. How do you go about that, Coach? You got a stable of guys there, and it looks like any one of them could jump to the forefront. How do you kind of focus on that?
Yeah, I think Jamil Gardner's definitely warranted some more opportunities where we target him more. I think right now you're looking at us, we target kind of Krishan, and then if they take him away, then there's a second and third option. Well, I think in that game especially, I think Mike couldn't get to the second and third option. He was being hurried and rushed and flushed and everything else. So we've got to do a better job of giving him more time. We've got to do some more stuff where we maybe make Jamil the first target in the progression, so he's kind of where we're looking at, and then we come back to Krishan. But it's all coaching to me, and it's Matty J and the offensive staff finding ways to get more guys involved. I think you saw us make a conscious effort early on in the game to get Justin Holmes involved, who I think is a really good pass catcher and a guy who can do some stuff with the ball in his hands after the catch. And I think we just got to keep being creative like that. If you looked at our first kind of scripted 10 plays, we really attempted to get the ball in different guys' hands. The first pass goes to Jamil Gardner. The second, I think, goes to Justin Holmes. Then Krishan kind of gets in his groove. So there's a conscious effort at doing that. It's just consistently doing that throughout the whole game. I think Mike gets a little comfortable with the guy or two, and he starts wanting that concept called more. We just got to be able to again, get other guys involved.
Coach, looking forward to Eastern Michigan. Obviously, your first 2 league games, you've seen probably 2 of the most seasoned quarterbacks in the MAC. I jokingly said it feels like Gabbert's been on that staff for 10 years. He ought to be an assistant coach and not a player. But it looks to be maybe a little bit different this week. Does that change how you go about things defensively?
No. This young man, Austin Smith, just brings a different kind of problem. He's more of a dual threat quarterback. He can beat you with his feet. Unlike the last 2 guys, I don't think that was their first thing. They wanted to throw the ball and stay in the pocket. This guy is, if you give him an opening, he'll drop it and run. And he's got he's got an arm. He can throw it. He's got weapons around him. They've got an established run game. But he just brings different kind of issues, in my opinion, that we've got to find a way to handle. And they do a good job of putting him in advantageous situations. And we've got to find a way to get him off his spot, and keep him we're going to call it suffocate him this weekend and keep him, in that box, make him play within there. So if we can do that, we've got a good chance. But that's where it starts. It starts with making him feel uncomfortable, and we've got to do a good job of that. I thought that Ohio did a good job of taking our front 4 out of it, and we're going to challenge them this week to get back to their form, because when they're playing well, we're playing well on defense. And I thought we gave the quarterback just a little bit too much time in the pocket, and the Coach Duggan, he doesn't like to blitz if he doesn't have to, and I think we forced our hands a little bit to blitz. We created one-on-one matchups in the secondary, which obviously they exposed. So we got to do a good job this week. Just a different kind of quarterback.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thank you.
Coach, one final question from the group. How did you guys come out health-wise, and how's the team looking heading into Eastern Michigan?
Yeah, we've got some guys who are definitely banged up. I think everybody is this time of year. The one thing I'll say is a lot of guys that were not healthy, didn't play, they're coming back now. And I think you'll see a lot of guys that have been out for a couple weeks be back in this thing. We do have a couple guys who are season ending. Nolan Rumler will be done for the season. And then Caleb Johns will be done for the season with some injuries as well. So again, that's stuff you guys saw anyway if you watched the game. So it's not a secret to anyone. They haven't played the past couple weeks. And now we're moving on. But a lot of guys will be coming back from injury that we're excited about getting back.
All right, Coach. Thank you again for everybody's few moments of your time, and look forward to Saturday.
Yeah, thanks for the coverage, guys, and go Flashes, Cape Grit.